Welcome back to Happy Home with Dan and Latane. This is episode 3. We are a real estate couple that focuses on faith, family, and financial freedom.
So today, let's talk about some of our biggest successes over the years in our real estate journey.
Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about our first big apartment complex we bought.
Oh, that failure.
That was a success, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Cedar Lane.
I am.
All right. Well, that was what? Probably about 7 years ago?
I think we bought it in 2017, I believe.
Okay. So we've been doing real estate, 15 years?
Yeah.
And this is probably one of our bigger successes.
It is. And the funny thing is, when you first looked at it, we were going to buy it and we backed out.
Yep, because the guy that owned it, and this was it was so rough. If you remember, like you drove by it and you thought it was a war zone. I mean, there were shopping carts out in the parking lot and everything else. So it wasn't like, he had all kinds of people wanting to buy this. But when he told me that he wanted me to pay the back taxes of $60,000.
We were done.
Yeah, we were done. And we were, a day away from closing?
We were close, very close.
And, we were scared to death, didn't know what to expect. And then, I don't know, I guess it was a month or two later, his son came back and called me. And he's like, look, I've called this guy. I was like, so you've called everybody and now you're desperate for some dumb idiot to buy it. And, we ended up buying it. Obviously, we didn't pay for the taxes.
No.
And then we also got a price reduction.
We did.
So that was the first success.
So the other success was with that, there was only 14 units, and there was a 6-unit literally on the same property right now.
Same parking lot, everything.
Yeah.
It was just deeded different. What happened was that 6-unit had gone to a tax sale, and somebody had bought it. And I don't even remember how we did it, but we hunted down that guy.
We did.
And found out that he would be willing to sell it. Probably paid more for it than we probably should have because it was roach infested. 2 units were rented. It was bad.
But we were able to get that.
Yep.
So we had 20 apartments and what used to be a restaurant.
Yep.
The funny thing is, when we were at Lee, that restaurant was fairly popular because
I've never eaten there.
I went and got a milkshake one time with a friend. So that's how I knew what it was.
I'd be scared to think that I did eat there.
Well, that was a long time ago. So.
But, the cool thing about that property was, for so long we had been buying single family houses. We had bought a couple of duplexes here. We had bought a couple of duplexes there. But we were able to scale. We were able to buy something one time.
Yep.
And then we were able to go in and do extreme renovations.
We did.
And take this property from very cheap, very ugly, where the police hated coming, to when we ended up selling it a couple years ago. It was just a well-oiled machine.
It was, but in the midst of that wonderful success, it took us 3 years to get it up and running because every apartment was a complete gut. And it was quite extensive, down to we had to strip the restaurant. That became pretty much an empty space, and it was quite extensive. It was more than we had ever done. But you kind of got a pattern down. You knew what you wanted in each apartment. So we were just repeating it, and we repeated it 19 more times.
And so why, in your mind, was it a success from going from single family houses to going to a 20 unit? Because, I have my thoughts of why I think it was a success, but why do you feel like it was?
I'll say for that one particularly, we were looking at cash flow. And we had found the niche of doing weekly rentals, and we did that on all of those. We set up where we had all the utilities on. We even fought the hard-fought fight of getting internet over there. And that was
Which we supplied. We supplied
did.
utilities, internet, and cable. So it's kind of a one-stop shop.
We
for
had
them.
it all. So when someone wanted to move in, all they had to pay was their first week's rent and whatever deposit we were requiring at the time. And they were good to go. And they just came in and paid every weekend. And once we got it to where it was all finished, we had good tenants in. And the thing is once we got it there, the tenants were great.
They were.
And we had a great property and the cash flow was good. And that was kind of where we were heading on that property. So I look at it, it was a success in, we were cash flowing really well. And that was kind of our goal on that one.
Right.
So,
but then in the long run, it became a equity play for us.
It did.
Where, because we had 20 times, $100,000 a unit, now you're at a $2 million valuation.
Yep.
And so we were able to sell that.
Yep.
And that was the one that springboarded us to allow me to quit my job.
Exactly.
So
did.
to me, that's why it was a success, is that it allowed me to leave my W-2 job and us feel comfortable being able to pay off.
Yeah, it checked off all those boxes that we wanted done to feel good about you walking away from your job. And we were able to do that once we sold that. So that was a really good property.
Yeah. So another one that we didn't write down, but I think we should talk about because I thought it's a cool success, is Rustic.
I agree. I agree.
So I was looking, I think at the time it was in the Real Estate Review, a local little paper that had all the different ones. Now that's not even a thing.
Yeah.
But I was looking through there and saw a duplex for sale. And I called the realtor and they're like, yeah, we've got 10 of them for sale. Or I'm sorry, no, it was 8. They had 10. They had sold 2 off.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to buy all 8. I came to you and I was like, dang, let's do this. And you're like, Dan, we can't afford this. This is crazy. But in reality, that was the easiest one.
That's funny because through all the years of every bank loan we've done, everything has been such a struggle and has taken so much longer than we ever expected. That one literally took less than 30 days, and it was the most money we had ever asked to borrow. And it was super easy.
Like we were, how in the world, why would the bank give us that money?
And they did.
I mean, it was crazy, but that was a success because we were able to get 8 duplexes all in one little complex. Now they're worth double what they were when we bought them.
I agree.
So that was just a cool success because once again, and that was actually even before Cedar Lane.
It was.
So we were going from single family flipping. We bought a bunch of these duplexes. And then we went and bought Cedar Lane.
Yep.
And then from Cedar Lane, we sold that out. And then we got into storage.
We did.
And then hey, let's do this. Let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go back to a flip first.
Okay.
Mouse Creek.
Second flip we ever did.
Yep.
And we bought it the day we were closing on our first flip.
So to me, that in itself is a success.
I agree.
Because, we never flipped. We never bought a bunch of real estate. But literally the day we were closing, we were already buying our next one.
We were. And this one had some land with it that we were able to subdivide off some lots.
Yep.
And come to find out, because the house was on a lot and we developed 3 lots, it was considered a subdivision.
Yep.
So to this day, those 4 houses are known as Ethan's Cove,
Which is
our first
oldest
son. Yeah. So
But that was cool because, we did that first flip. As we said before, we made that money on that first one. We paid up all of our bills that we were behind.
we did.
We put some money in the bank to kind of get us through. But I think it was 30 or 45 days from the time we bought it to the time we got the house fixed up.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when we sold it, we thought we were going to end up having to sell it off 3 different parcels.
We did.
And one guy came.
He did.
He ended up buying it all. And that was something that we made a good chunk of money.
We did.
45 days later. So it was kind of that springboard of, kind of what got me addicted to flipping was we made money on that first one, that second one. And then what was crazy and this is, obviously we'll go deeper and deeper into stuff, but our third flip was the house across the street
Yes,
from our first flip.
It was.
And I'll never forget when that guy called me. So what I would do is every day when I would go over and work on the flip,
Yeah.
I would just take a 3x5 note card, real sophisticated.
Yeah.
And write on there, hey, I'd love to buy your house. I have cash. Huh, news alert, that's a lie.
Yeah, we did it.
Thank God the bank did. But, I would say I have cash, would love to talk to you. I mean, the grass was 3 foot tall, windows were busted in.
It was.
And I'll never forget the day that he called me. He was like, hey man, I've got like 40 or 50 of these postcards saying that you want to buy it. Why don't you come, talk to me? And so what was really cool was when we sold that second flip, we had that one lined up.
We did.
So that was a success. Just
was.
those successes building on themselves.
Right at the beginning, really trying to just keeping it moving, really just kind of got us into the momentum of, okay, this is something we want to keep doing. So, yeah.
So, okay, now we can talk about free will.
Let's talk about storage.
Totally, totally different than what we'd ever done.
It was.
When I started hearing about storage, we didn't know what we were doing once again, like we were with, residential. So, once I found a mentor in storage, it just all kind of clicked. The thing that made what he said to me was being in residential, the glorious thing of, oh, you're a landlord, you have all kinds of money, but they don't realize how much this phone rings saying, hey, my toilet this or this, or hey, the dog's barking next door.
Yeah.
What I was sold on was the simple fact that he said he threw his phone in the river and he had a call center for his storage facility. So that's when we really started diving into it.
And I will say, when you found the storage mentor and started following him and talking with him, it took us a while still. Again, that seems to be our theme of finding a facility, because you were looking at so many deals and plugging in numbers. And then in the end, it just didn't seem like it was going to work. And he kept encouraging you, you'll find it, just keep plugging away. And it was like, was it about a year?
About a year.
That we found this one. And what was crazy about it at the time, we found it and had it under contract. And then the pandemic hit. And we kind of freaked out because we didn't know where everything was going to go. And we kept pushing off closing.
Yep.
And we did finally close.
We did.
And started moving forward on it.
And what's so cool about that one is, it was 10,000 square foot, which in storage, everything is based on square footage. Mm-hmm. So it was 10,000 square foot, small facility, but there was room to expand just that small little building that we did on the lower level.
Yeah.
And then we had an upper level that was
wide open to do anything.
But it was hills this, and it had trees on it and everything else. Well, come to find out, we thought, oh, this will be easy to develop. A lot of money later, we figured out. But the cool thing is, we bought that one, for $225,000.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got it all done and got it, the upper level developed and everything else, we got that appraised, for 1.8 million.
1.8. Mm-hmm.
Obviously there was cost in between.
There
We
was.
built another building. We redid the buildings that were there, fencing, development, all that kind of stuff.
But when we were looking at it originally, we knew we were going to add value. Obviously putting some money into it, adding some units and adding value. We had no clue. And when that appraisal came in, you and I both about hit the floor. We're like, wow, are you kidding?
Yeah.
That we have just turned this property into an almost $2 million property. And we had no clue we were going to be able to add that much. It was amazing.
But even though that was such a great success, there was a lot of frustration.
There was, because it took a long time to get the land cleared, to find people to do it. It took a lot. And that one was also, I feel like every property, every project, we have learned something new. So that one, we bought box wells, but we didn't buy them new. We bought them used. And so we had to find a company to transport them.
Because it was 3 hours away.
Yeah. And so we're renting big machines here. We rented a big machine there to load them and unload them. I mean, all of that was a learning curve in itself, but we got them all here, and they added a great space up to the storage facility. And
Well, and the other thing is, we look at it as a success, but during it, we felt like it was a failure.
we did.
Because part of the reason why we did the box wells is because when we went to go get drawings done to build those buildings on the upper level, you had setbacks, state road.
Yeah.
We didn't realize state road, you had to stay off 50 foot.
Yeah.
So here we are again. And I go back to the thing that I always say, God just blessed us even through some of our, and I don't recommend this to people, of, try to find information out, before.
Yeah.
The good thing is it was a deal with just the lower level.
It was.
It
was.
But to me, I feel like it was just a situation of God just, blessing us and saying, okay, you know what? You expected to be able to develop that. And we were able to. But
It just looked different.
It looked totally different than what I expected.
Yeah.
But even if we couldn't have built up there, it was still a good deal. But
was.
God just blew our mind, saying, you know what, you paid $250,000 for this, but now it's worth $1.8 million.
And this was also in the midst of all this. They're doing an expansion on a roadway here, and a storage facility had to tear down one of their buildings.
Yep.
So you, by crazy connections, were able to go buy that metal building for pennies on the dollar, deconstruct it, and move it up there. And it was a climate-controlled building.
Yeah. So it allowed us to have non-climate, climate, and then we had the box wells, which were the portable.
Yeah.
So it was just a hodgepodge of stuff, but it ended up coming together and looking, really good and being a really cool facility.
Yeah, so that was, and that in our storage part of our real estate, that was a phenomenal success that we were able to do that. And we learned so much.
Yeah.
And
nothing was standard, though. I mean, if I just go back and look at each one, Mouse Creek, we subdivided. That wasn't the standard. Most flippers go in, they want to paint the pig, put it on the market and go on.
Yeah.
Where we kind of look for what's other options that we have.
And we've also been able to take, we were at one point that we would just buy whatever. If we even thought we could make it work, we would buy. And then we just kind of, worked through it afterwards. So Mouse Creek, we subdivided lots. Free will storage, we just made it work no matter what was going to happen. Cedar Lane, okay, we're not going to make them monthly, we're going to make them weekly.
And then we're going to include utilities and cable and internet.
Yeah.
Who does this crazy stuff? But that's the quirkiness of us.
It is.
And how we've been able to think outside the box, been able to create something that is not traditional. And it goes back to kind of who we are, is we're not that traditional.
Because we have traditional flips that we've bought, we've fixed up, and we have flipped, and we've made money on it. But the funny thing is that's not what comes to mind when we talk about our biggest successes in real estate. Yeah. It's these quirky little deals that just in the end turned out so well, but it was crazy to get there to the end.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the way we found our way in the market.
It is.
We didn't have a lot of money, so we had, even our first apartment building, we bought because nobody else wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
But it was so cheap that we could afford it.
Absolutely.
But we had to make it work.
Absolutely.
And the only way to make it work was a lot of hard work.
It was.
Dealing with a lot of tough people. But yet, when we got done, it was a lot of awesome people that just wanted a good place to live. Mm-hmm. That is funny that still to this day, we have 2 people that lived there that live in other of our properties, as well as when we see some of those tenants out in public, at Walmart or something like that,
They do. They say hi.
it's still family. I mean,
is.
they were family to us.
The day that we sold and went and told them, I mean, how many of them were crying?
Oh, man, that one girl crying.
We just want you as our landlord because it's personal to us and always has
personal.
been. So we've kept it that way for a reason.
Yeah.
So, but, it's fun to talk about and look at, and the successes have been fun, even the quirky ones.
Yeah. And just trying to look and see if there's anything else that might be a success that we're forgetting. Because to me, I feel like we've had a lot of successes. Even in our failures, I feel like there's been successes.
I agree.
Can you think of any other projects that we were... I can't think of any other.
These are the big ones that come to mind when we talk about our biggest successes through the years, is these quirky little projects that ended up turning out really well for us.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well,
all right.
I guess
Producer Jeremy has a question.
Sure.
Okay.
How would you rank like the types of investments between storage and flips or just having tenants? What has been the most successful, do you think? Like if you had to rank them, say like we've been really successful at this, like how would you do that?
Well, it all is kind of a matter of perspective, because success is for us in residential. I mean, a success for us, one of our markers has been cash flow, and that turned into weekly rentals with our residential. With storage, it was a lot more hands off, which was something that was really nice because we were so busy with residential. So that was a big success. And we had a lot of that kind of more streamlined where we weren't doing as much, and you could scale it bigger because it's
so you
bigger.
could gain equity quicker
Yeah.
in storage than you could, buying single family houses.
Yeah.
But multifamily, we were able to scale pretty well.
We were. I mean, and that's where, again, looking at what you're looking for in perspective, because a single family home, you are not going to scale like that. You're going to gain some equity, but you're not going to gain, $100,000 in a normal market over a normal period of time.
But with that being said, too, is I think you have to look at your personality a little bit.
You do.
Because what we did with the weekly rentals, a lot of people would not.
They would not.
For that cash flow that we got, a lot of people wouldn't.
It's just not worth it to them. Where it was for us, we were in the daily grind, and I did not have an outside job, so it was a lot easier for us to self-manage that because I could do a lot of it day to day, the paperwork side, and a lot of people, even though there's cash flow there, are not willing. They don't want to do that, and it does come down to personality and what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
Storage lends to, you don't have toilets, refrigerators, heating,
Exactly.
and air units, so I think you just have to look at your personality and figure out what you want to do and what makes sense.
I agree.
But I think for us, what's funny is there were things that we liked in both.
There was, and also for us, it's 20 plus years. Things have changed for us over the years. I mean, what we were willing to do 15 years ago, we might not so much be willing to do now.
Right.
Where are you at in your journey in life, and where are you at, and what are you wanting to do outside of your own job? And a lot of it comes down to figuring out what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, and what you want to gain out of that.
Yeah.
So, but all right.
Anything else, Producer Jeremy?
Okay. So next time, we'll talk about failures.
Lots of them.
Yes.